Hey guys, welcome to SuTube. It is September the 16th, and today I'm going to show you guys a very interesting perspective I have of the macro Bitcoin chart. It has to do with what I've been showing you guys for the past several months on my bullish theories here, but it's just a little bit different of a way of looking at it, and I'm very excited about it. You guys should be too. I had to bring you this special video. I didn't even have time to get out of my work clothes, and I even sliced myself pretty good at the end of my shift here. But I need to get this video to you guys, and hopefully you enjoy it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you hadn't, leave me a comment what you think about this video, and with that, let's hop right into it. Alright guys, to start things off, as always, we're going to start with the macro Bitcoin chart. I'm actually going to switch from the weekly chart though to the daily, because you guys know that I have been pointing out this yellow channel here and that we were holding support, and I figured if that support held that we may indeed be about to retest the top of it, which would be around probably 11.3, 11.4 thousand, somewhere in there. Something to watch out for is obviously we have this horizontal resistance here which acted as support on this cluster up sorry, up here. That was acting as our floor, and now it could be acting as our ceiling temporarily. Something I want to point out before I get into my super bullish theories is we might need a bit of a falling wedge to form before we get any sort of major breakout where we have to get our third touch point and then a break above before we continue on higher. So this could take a little bit of time, guys. But for right now, I want to take a look at something a little different. You guys know that on my weekly chart here, I have been pointing out this white triangle for quite some time. I'm going to clean this up for you a little bit just so you guys get a better picture of what's going on. You guys know that I've been pointing out that although we came extremely close to touching my white triangle and testing that support flip, we never quite made it, and I really wanted to see that perfectly touch. But I'm going to look at things a little different here, and you can see that we may have actually got the touch that I want, and I also have some theories about that whole 9600 gap that we have talked about in the past with the CME futures market. And I'm going to get into what I think might happen with that if we even happen to fill that gap. Let me hop over to, I'm going to change this from the regular chart to the logarithmic chart. And I don't know why I haven't looked at this before. This morning on my way to work, I was listening to a channel called Crypto. You guys may have heard of him. If you know of me, you probably know of him because he has, well, thousands of times more subscribers than I do. He's a very large channel, so I want to give a shout out to him because although I was also looking at this triangle, he was just looking at it on the logarithmic scale, and it was just kind of like a light bulb going off in my head there. You can see here that if we do the logarithmic chart and we make this triangle, we absolutely did get this confirmed support flip. And that's what I've been looking for with my white triangle. And that just looks beautiful, guys. As bearish as a lot of YouTubers are right now and that sort of stuff, look how perfect that retest is. You guys know that triangles and wedges have been my favorite pattern to play on this channel. I have shown you time and time again ones that I'm expecting to play out, ones that I'm watching for, even some plays that I was looking at taking, that sort of stuff. I want to emphasize this. The reason I really like triangles and wedges is I kind of have a bit of a system with them. I did some back testing on the way that I like to play them, and I back tested, this was actually quite a while ago, but I back tested about 2 years of the Bitcoin chart on the 4-hour and the daily chart. And by playing these triangles and wedges, I had something like an 85% success rate on paper. These are not trades that I was taking because these are patterns that have formed before I was even in the space, but just doing back testing, playing the chart. I don't know if you guys would have this replay feature depending what trade view you have, but you can go back and you can play the charts as if they're happening live, and had very good success rate with triangles and wedges. So that's just kind of what I like to play, guys. And you guys know, even though I normally, when I'm pointing out these patterns, that I do usually look at the 15-minute chart, quite often, if, like you guys know that all these patterns that I've been pointing out for the last several months now, quite often they end up playing out very well, and there's no reason that this pattern should play out any different. Yes, it's a bigger time frame, but these patterns generally follow the same uh, line of rules, I guess I'll say. And almost every time that we break out of my triangles or my wedges, we end up getting the break above and we get our retest before we really take off. And guys, how perfect does that fucking look? Even if we, let's say, take another bounce, kind of get a double top, as long as we continue to hold this line, and actually if we did get a bit of a double top and pull back and test the line again, that's where we could actually see that 96, 9500 gap fill. But I'm not necessarily certain that we're going to get that opportunity right now. And I'll go into another theory I have about that later, but I just want to kind of go back in the chart, and bear with me, I'm kind of doing a bit of freestyling here. But you can see that we have a lot of these triangles on the log scale, and when they break, especially when it's shortly after a halving date, like these vertical yellow lines, you can see that we kind of get a bit of a pullback, and we end up blasting to the upside. Another thing I want to point out is the size of the drops that we have in our bear markets before the next bull market start. A lot of you guys may be very familiar with this idea, but you can see here if we go from our high just below 20,000 and down to our low around 3,100, we have about an 84% drop, guys. Let's look at this bear market. We start here, go down to here, 87%. Even if we just go this one weekly candle that had the crazy wicks, 82, 83%. Since when Bitcoin was under $15, if you can just imagine. God, Captain Hindsight's a real dick. But even though this was a massive wick here that ended up being a very bearish looking hammer candle, you can see there 85%, guys. So we keep getting this 84 to 87-ish%. Most of them seem to be right around that 84, 85% decline before taking off to the upside. And with these triangles, even even this, if you really wanted to, you could say that that's a triangle. It's a rushed one, but even something like that, you can see that these triangles do happen, and you get about that 84, 85% pullback, you get your halving, and then you kind of get your support flip, and then it seems to take off into the next market. And to me, right now, what I'm seeing with this right here looks awfully familiar to this. I can almost guarantee, I was not in the space when this happened, by the way, but I can almost guarantee that the sentiment in this general area was very bearish, just like we are right now in the YouTube space. A lot of people are calling for a big decline because of the gap and all these other reasons, but it would really catch a guy off guard, which quite often happens if we just blast the fuck off without filling that gap. So just a couple things to look at from a macro perspective there. Even though these dumps, actually, I haven't even checked into this yet, but even this little dump right here, if we want to call it that, for the retest, that's about a 40% drop, guys. So even this one right here, as bearish as people are, it's only half the size. It's really not a very big drop. If we were to get the 40% drop, we would end up closer to the 7,700. Will we get that opportunity, that beautiful buy opportunity down there? I'm not so sure. Another thing I want to point out is I don't have any news articles or anything loaded because obviously I was rushed to get you guys this video. But look into what institutions are doing right now. You know, this last bull market, there was a ton of FOMO with us retail traders. Everyone wanted to buy Bitcoin. Well, what's happening right now is institutions, way bigger players than you and I could ever be, are buying massive amounts of Bitcoin right now. And I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars worth, you guys. there is, can't remember what the name of it is, Grayscale, I think it is. They are actually purchasing approximately 49% of all the Bitcoin being mined right now. And you guys might wonder to yourself, like, well, Stu, if all these institutions are buying so much Bitcoin, why the fuck is the price even ever dipping? Why is it going down? Why isn't it doing a straight moonshot to 100,000? Well, guys, these institutions are not buying Bitcoin off BitMEX or Bybit or Binance, whatever you guys use to trade on. They're not buying from those exchanges the way you and I are, because they would impact the price way too much. The price would just absolutely skyrocket. And so what they do is they tend to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the way it works is they actually purchase all their Bitcoin through the actual miners. And when we have these halvenings, and I think our last one was at the start of May, somewhere in here, but we get these halvings and there's less Bitcoin being rewarded to the miners. So it's only a matter of time. If these institutions are absolutely buying up all these miners' coins, eventually they're going to run out because there's not enough being mined for their FOMO to be satisfied. So to me, it seems like they would eventually need to start buying on these exchanges, or if not, they'll at least be holding a very large supply, which means there's a lot smaller of a supply that's circulating, and it means that it'll just drive up the price, you guys. So I mean, obviously, none of this is financial advice, as I said before, and none of this is guaranteed, but just looking at things that have happened in the charts before and these crazy parabolic runs that Bitcoin tends to do after these triangles and after the halving dates. Now, guys, I'm going to go for a shot in the dark. This is a very long shot, but I was telling you I had this random theory about that 9600 gap. So let's just pretend that our gap to be filled is right there around 9600, low 9600s. And let's say we don't get this second drop back down here and refill that gap before we take off here. And hear me out. Again, it's a very long shot, but let's just look at this. As I've been pointing out, when we get these bear markets, we get that 84, 85% drop or whatever. What happens if, let's say we do just blast the fuck off right now, we start forming bull flag, bull flag, bull flag, and let's say, I know it's a long shot and it's probably, if it even happens, it would be years, probably a year or two down the road, whatever, something like that. But let's say we do top out around $75,000. This is just kind of a guess with math in my head. But let's say that we end up having another bear market. Well, you guys just saw that if we were around 75, 74,000 even, that's kind of getting to that price range drop that would be very familiar to a bear market. So maybe we'll get our bull market, the entire bull market, and then we drop from there. We get our 85-ish% drop, and that's what ends up filling our gap. Again, I am not saying Bitcoin's going to $75,000 or anything like that, but it absolutely could happen. Another thing I want to point out, you guys know I've been eyeing up the $27,000 mark, and that's kind of off this triangle. If I take the measured move from breakout point, yeah, somewhere in there, 27-ish thousand dollars. And guys, that's kind of going back to my back testing theory. Is the price target I generally go for is a measured move of these patterns. And like I said, I've had about a 80-85% success rate with that while I was back testing. So there's, I hate to say this, but because I don't want words put in my mouth, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm all in on a high leverage trade and I'm not taking any profits and I'm holding on to everything I have until Bitcoin hits $27,000. It's nothing like that. I'm playing swing by swing, but I'm just looking at the general direction of the market and where it's headed. And I think there's absolutely a good chance that Bitcoin will hit $27,000 eventually. If we're even in this bull market right now, maybe we're not there yet. But I think the next bull market will at least hit that. And I know I've talked about it in the past that if we do end up eclipsing this high around $20,000, I mean, if any of you guys follow Tesla, you can see what happens when things break all-time highs, and they can absolutely take off where you get much more than a measured move. And that's where, guys, who knows, we could hit that $70,000, $100,000 mark, something like that, with these big institutions being in the game now. A lot more money, a lot more leverage. People can trade with way more money than they have. That being said, always be aware of the risks, guys. People can short now, and they can short with leverage, so a lot of money can push the market back down and stuff like that. So just always be aware of both sides. It's not good to be perma bullish or perma bearish. The market goes both directions. It just doesn't go one direction and keep going that direction, guys. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's some interesting things from a macro perspective, that things could be about to get very, very interesting for Bitcoin in the next month or two. Next, guys, I'm going to hop over to Ethereum. I'm currently on the 1 hour chart. Excuse the organized chaos here. I don't have a whole lot of time. I got to get going here, but I just want to show you guys the trade I'm currently in. Pay attention to this green support line. Again, this is the hourly chart. And when I zoom into the 15-minute chart, and I know on our group chat with the boys, I pointed out this potential falling wedge on Ethereum. And I had mentioned that if we got our third touch point followed by a breakout, that this could be an absolutely beautiful play. We never really got our third touch point there before our breakout, but what I ended up doing is I actually did end up playing the third touch point on the support instead. And my theory behind that was we had our 1 touch point, 2 touch points, and then we had our third touch point, and we did end up getting a green candle close just above that green line, as well as where it met the bottom of that potential wedge. So I decided to take a 20x long on Ethereum. You can see here that I reached my first target up here, and well, we broke this other green trend line that I had, and I took more profits just below $380. It was around $379. And you guys can do the math on a 20x trade. You can see here that I took some of my profits, around 60%. I took a third of my position off the table, and then I went up here, which was approximately 120% profit, where I have recently, just about an hour ago or so, I locked in some more profits at around 120%. So absolutely beautiful trade. So that was my second third of the position. I have the remaining last third split into 2 chunks where I will get stopped out if we break back below this green potential support flip I'm looking for. I want to be stopped out of most of my position and a beautiful profit there. And then I have another take profit point, which would be stopped out if I happen to get closer to that break-even mark, because I would just like to leave this position go if I can, maybe break that 300% again, even though it would be a ridiculously small position. Or maybe there will be another good buy opportunity somewhere up higher, and that would just help my average entry by having a little bit left over from a much lower price. But either way, obviously can't lose on this trade. It was beautiful. It was almost the exact bottom of the trend, so couldn't be happier with that trade. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to point out to you guys, was the trade I'm currently in on Ethereum, and as well just kind of my macro perspective of, oh geez, my phone is going nuts. And yeah, just my macro perspective of Bitcoin, and just how the logarithmic chart made it look a lot more interesting to me from a bullish perspective. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Again, if you could just give me that thumbs up and subscribe if you hadn't, and let me know what you think about the video, that would be great. Every interaction helps with the YouTube algorithms. I'd love to start getting more views. For some reason, one of my views had like 10 times the amount of one of my videos had like 10 times the amount of views that I normally get, so I'd love to see that again. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm going to leave you guys alone. And also, sorry, I know I haven't been as active lately on here, and I've actually been working out of town, and I've been working a lot longer days. So for the next 6 months or so, Monday to Thursdays are going to be pretty busy, and I don't know how many videos I'm going to be able to make during the week. I'll still try and keep in touch with you guys the most I can, but it's hard. Real life is a thing. I am not doing this full time yet. This is still just a little extra stream of income, and I would love for it to be my full-time job someday, but I'm not there yet. And yeah, hopefully I do get there someday. Anyways, with that, guys, thanks for understanding, and thank you guys for tuning in. With that, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.